Hello everybody, John back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you another top 5 list. It's that time of the week again, so let's get into this week's top 5 list. Last time I gave you my top 5 worst DC movies of all time, and this week I give you my top 5 best DC movies of all time. These are movies that are obviously based off DC comics, and are, I like to consider to be the best of the best of said universe. But that being said, I do have a specific criteria for this list. That is, I will only be choosing movies, only one film from a specific franchise, because let's be honest, I mean, like, if anybody was going to make a top 5 list of the best DC movies of all time, everyone would just say the Batman franchise. That's all you really have to say. So, to be fair, I will only be choosing one film from the Batman franchise and one film from the Superman franchise, just to be fair to all the other great movies that so happen to be based off DC Comics. And of course, as with all my top 5 lists, they're subjective. It's my personal list, my personal thoughts, so of course, if there's a specific movie that you think is awesome, or specific movies that you think are awesome and you consider to be the best of DC comic book movies, then of course comment below. Let me know what your personal top 5 list is of the best DC movies of all time. But that being said, let's get into this list. Coming at number 5 has to go to Superman the movie, directed by Richard Donner, and of course stars Christopher Reeve. What is there to say that cannot be said already? I mean, like, it was the movie that showed you a man could fly. That was the promotion for the movie, and they did it. They achieved it. Richard Donner created the first ever legitimate superhero film. I mean, like, if it wasn't for Superman the movie, there would be no legitimate superhero genre. It was the Kickstarter for the superhero genre, and of course there's plenty of amazing films that have come in the wake of Superman the movie that are obviously considerably a lot better and a lot, just intensely superior. But at the end of the day, you just can't throw away the importance of Superman the movie and how amazing Christopher Reeve was as Superman. I mean, like, no one has ever really achieved the greatness that Christopher Reeve brought to both Superman and Clark Kent. And I mean, I'm just saying, this is the template of superhero movies today, and it's just, I know, like, at the end of the day, it is outdated, it is a little cheesy and campy, and there's tons of other Superman movies that blow this one out of the water, hence Superman 2, specifically the Richard Donner cut, and of course, Man of Steel, but you just can't throw away the importance of this one movie. So that's why it's on number 5 in my list. But moving off of that, going to number 4 has to go to David Cronenberg's A History of Violence, obviously based off the DC comic book History of Violence graphic novel, obviously starring Viggo Mortensen from Lord of the Rings fame. This movie is freaking amazing. It's graphic, it's violent, it's badass. It's essentially one of those many films that came out in a specific time period in the superhero genre where they were amazing movies that are just so happen to be based off comic books, but didn't have to be pigeonholed to being part of a specific genre, if that makes any sense. But overall, it's just an amazing movie. David Cronenberg is a freaking god director. He's freaking badass, and of course, this movie kicks ass. It's so violent, it's freaking awesome. Viggo Mortensen is just an amazing actor, and A History of Violence is just an amazing film that I don't want to continue going on talking about because it's a freaking awesome movie that you should definitely check out. But moving off that, going to number 3 on this list, has to go to V for Vendetta, of course produced by the Wachowskis and directed by James McTeague, and stars Natalie Portman and Hugo Weaving. Now, there's a lot of things that can be said about Natalie Portman. She's an amazing actress, she's a phenomenal person, she's a freaking award-winning freaking actress. There's a lot that can be said. There's a lot that can be said. However, a lot of people want to consider, like, movies that she did recently that really brought her into the limelight. I say it's V for Vendetta. I mean, the performance that Natalie Portman puts in this film, the book that was based off Alan Moore's V for Vendetta, the Vertical imprinted DC comic book series, is just freaking awesome. She is phenomenal in this movie, and Hugo Weaving, he's a fucking destroyer. He destroys his roles, and his portrayal as V is amazing. It's just really, truly amazing. V for Vendetta is just a badass film that you should definitely check out. It's freaking political, it's interesting, it's badass, it's graphic, it freaking has amazing performances and a heart and depth and tone to it that just destroys other comic book movies out of the water. At the end of the day, you would think, how is it possible that Natalie Portman went from the prequels into where she is now. I say it's because of V for Vendetta, but that's just my personal opinion. But moving off that, going to number 2 on this list has to go to Zack Snyder's Watchmen, of course based off another Alan Moore graphic novel series, and of course is henceforth, more widely known as one of the greatest comic book series of all time. It's just one of the greatest graphics of all time, and a lot of people consider it to be the most unfilmable graphic novel of all time, and a lot of that has to do with Alan Moore's specific distrust with the film industry, which is why he specifically makes things that should not be filmed. However, Zack Snyder came in, he just swooped right in and said, you know what, fuck that shit, I'm gonna make a movie based off of it. And a lot of people like to give shit to Zack Snyder, and specifically Watchmen, for not being, I guess to a certain extent, completely 100% accurate to the book, considering there's just a gigantic chunk of shit that just wasn't in the film. But of course there's various cuts. There's the director's cut, there's the ultimate edition, if you will, that do have tons of hours put into this film. But moving off of that and getting into my honorable mentions of awesome, badass, best DC comic book movies that did not get in this list, have to go down to specifically Man of Steel, Dark Knight Rises, Batman Begins, Road to Redemption, or Predition, if you will, Constantine, I really enjoyed, Batman 89, Batman Returns, Superman 2, specifically the Richard Donner cut, and the list goes on, but those are just a few to name off. But moving off of that to the number 1 best DC movie of all time has to go to Chris Nolan's The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is just the definitive best DC movie as of now. There is no other real DC movie that can really top that. That was an event film. That was the first real DC event film since '89, Batman, and it just destroyed the box office, destroyed the critics. Really was just an amazing film on its own, and I feel like if it wasn't for Chris Nolan's Dark Knight and even Jon Favreau's Iron Man, the superhero genre just would not be the same. It would just continue to unravel and not really know what kind of a life it would have. It just deformed. It became something that was, these are event films. These are films that, everyone can watch, that they're just not considered comic book movies and superhero films, but of course also very serious, amazing films. And Dark Knight just destroys. It's just a destroying kind of film. I love it to death. It's one of I consider it to be the best film of the Batman franchise. And Chris Nolan just directed a masterpiece. Of course, there's tons of Batman movies to come in the future, like hopefully Ben Affleck's Batman movie, and of course Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman. But as of right now, specifically, the list has to go right down to number 1, which is Chris Nolan's Dark Knight. But that being said, comment below. Let me know what your personal list is of the best DC movies of all time. This has been my list, of course. I consider to be the best: Superman the movie, History of Violence, V for Vendetta, Watchmen, and The Dark Knight. That's just my personal list. Let me know what is yours. Comment below. Let me know what you personally think. And of course, next time I will be doing specific lists for Marvel. I did not leave out Marvel. I will be doing a Marvel top 5 worst list and top 5 best list for Marvel, and so on and so forth. But that being said, comment below. Let me know what your personal list is of the top 5 best DC movies that you consider to be the best of the best. And that being said, that's it for this week. Comment below, let me know what you personally think, and of course follow me on Twitter and Instagram at JohnCh12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and I hope you guys enjoyed, and this has been JohnCh12.